Hello and welcome to another video. So we're playing 2378 Shadow. So it's basically a NERF deck that mainly relies on its 2, 3, 7 and 8 drops, not 6. 6 we're only running one card, which is fairly effective. Death Breath, a great way to block off boards and never have to worry. But other than that, rely on early game 2 drops, boost yourself into your 3 drop range, and then just play your late NERF, Mordecai's, and Underworld Watchmen's to really just round out the deck. NERF obviously pulling anything from the 2, 3, 7, and 8 category is going to be pretty good. I mean, you can pull the Lurching Corpses, which are great. You can also then pull things like the Attendant of the Knights, but in particular, Underworld Watchmen and Mordecai as your only other 7 and 8 drops is really important. So we'll get right into this and check out how it goes. So, game 1, we're versing Haven, which is, fairly bad at the moment, personally. Stormhaven is okay, every other Haven is kind of lacking. Elaine Haven, which is pretty much what this deck is mediocre at best. I mean, it does do well against some decks, but it also gets stomped by a lot of other decks. We start off with, not a great hand. Luriel's the best card in our hand right now in the early game, and the only thing that's actually playable. But that's fine. I don't expect much from Haven in the early game other than a banishment, which against Shadow you wouldn't want to waste on a Luriel really. But we do get to play the Attendant, which is something they probably would waste a banish on. Fortunately though, Elena's Prayer coming out early, that is both bad and good. I mean, it means I get to do more damage and I can just play how I want without really limiting myself too much. I do decide to take the draw while proccing the 1-1. It both protects it from being banished and puts a threat onto the board, which I think might have been the right choice. I mean, they probably would have priested my last card and then killed my Luriel. This way they really have to priest the 1-2 and then kill the 4-4, which for me is quite beneficial. Of course, just use Zombie Party, no point using anything else here. May as well evolve this Luriel Archer, get that 1 damage to face, plus the extra 4, ping the 1-2, and then we'll just get rid of it. I mean, we're running a lot of 2 drops, so drawing cards is normally pretty good. Unfortunately, we do draw into our Mordecai's, which suck, and we of course get the Foul Tempest, which is okay. I haven't had much use from Foul Tempest yet, but against Blood and stuff, it's definitely good. So it's a card that I would definitely keep against those matchups. So, a little harder here. I mean, the only decent play is the Soulsquasher, which does spend a lot of our shadows. But we can't leave a Tenko up. Of course, we get to see the beautiful Snow White. And finally, a Black Inscripture. But going into turn 7, we can finally start actually doing things, whether that is Zombie Party or not. I mean, no point using the Watchman yet. We're not in a situation where Watchman's actually going to be useful. I could have used the Evolve, but decided to hold on to it. Killing the Snow White would have been nearly pointless. Its Evolve would have been pretty bad to begin with. So we may as well hold on and just wait a moment before we decide whether we want to kill that off. Plus, we did a nice job baiting stuff out. The Evolve making sense here. We can hit the Snow White, force them to have to try and find a way to banish this. We've already seen a Priest and a Banishment with the Black Inscripture, so the odds of them having more becomes a little less, which is nice. Plus, we've got another Mordecai to follow that up with, if that's the route they decide to play.
I have lost.
Instead, they concede, obviously having no answer to this, which is great for me. Next up, Blood. We always get to see how Blood performs, and this one is a little more interesting.
Come on.
So we've got Zombie Party, Demon Eater, and Lurching Corpse. They work alright together. Zombie Party's good for getting rid of that early game stuff. Demon Eater's great with Lurching Corpse, again gets rid of early game stuff and allows us to grab a double draw, which should stock our hand up plenty. But luckily they didn't really play anything, so that's good for us. Gotta play that lurching. Just too much good value in a lurching corpse these days. Now, this is where it got interesting. A Blood Moon you don't see very often in Blood these days. So I wasn't sure what they were aiming for. It's obviously going to be some form of Vengeance Blood. They're going to be relying on Vengeance effects a lot, so I know that would be a fact. But you don't usually see Vengeance Blood running Blood Moon often, so definitely keeping me on my toes. We'll take advantage of that Lurching Corpse and the double draw, fortunately drawing into another Lurching Corpse, meaning we actually get a decent play. Pain in the ass healing though, and of course a Belphegor that I have to bloody deal with, so... To deal with Belf, this is where things get a little tricky.
Give me a sign.
I don't really want to waste too many things, and coming up with enough damage to kill this without wasting stuff is really difficult. So I do end up having to leave it up, which is completely, you know, a pain in the ass, just literally. Having to leave that up so I take more damage always feels bad.
Maybe we meet again. So fresh.
But we get the chance that we need. Do make a slight play there. I probably would have been better off leaving that just in case they do clear board, which would suck. Although our next turn can be an Underworld, which is perfect.
The world earned my wrath.
And an Underworld followed up by a Nep is actually a really solid play.
I am so strong.
Provided we don't play anything else before that if we need it.
I'll live again.
So trying to debate on how to handle this play. The Underworld was definitely the option that I ended up going with, just because it's solid. I can use it to easily hit things, which is nice.
I can handle the likes of you.
I do decide to just leave it from there.
Come.
I'll leave the Belphegor alone, no point hitting into it. And it seems to have been the right choice overall. They go into the Dark Air Jammers, play a bunch of stuff, and leave us pretty much in a perfect positioning. I don't know why they decided to do the double trade there like that. I probably would have left it just because I would have to trigger the effect myself. Instead I got an easy trigger. And I get the chance to play more stuff. Putting us in a really good spot.
Time for fun and games.
Elmerald is a bit of a pain, but nothing we can't handle here. Death Breath blocks off a lot of damage,
You gotta mess with me.
and the Mordecai Evolved gives us 7 to their face, leaving them with just 3 health.
Just getting started.
Now, for Blood to find a way to come back from that would not be easy. Unfortunately, they are running Bahamut. Luckily though, the Mordecai there is perfectly fine. Plus, that made it really easy to kill them. And our final game is Dragon. How are we going to go against that?
Mother, father, come on.
Dragon is just one of those matchups that I'm never quite sure about with any deck. There's no deck that I found that particularly can just roll Dragon. If Dragon has a good hand, you're pretty much screwed no matter what you're playing. The only deck that has a consistently good chance, I would say, is probably D-Shift, but that does suffer from the fact that you can allow Dragon to build up early game and then just stomp you if you don't have your combo turn 7. Other than that, all you can really do is pressure them hard. Which this deck doesn't do too bad a job of.
Ooh, sparkly stuff. Gimme.
Of course, the only other problem I've had with this deck so far has been the bricking. If you end up with the wrong cards at the wrong stage, you're pretty much screwed no matter what you do. If you can't survive till turn 7 and turn 8 and have the couple of cards you might need to survive that, then there's no way that you're going to win the match in most cases. So, a couple of attendants, seems quite nice. Throw out the evolve, get that extra damage.
My friend's pretty terrifying, right?
May as well throw the Soulsquasher while we're at it. Probably could have saved it, but we don't really have the shadows to take advantage of it yet anyway. Plus, since we're on turn 5, we've only got a couple turns left before we can drop our NERF and just absolutely decimate them.
Destroy our foes, sacred ones.
But I'm not really a fan of the 8-8 there, the Isafil. Such a pain to deal with. The only advantage was that 4-4 survived, meaning I can take advantage of things. Lurching Corpse, Soul Conversion, you may as well take draw power and get the clear. Plus the Undying Resentments and Zombie Party will come in handy later on, especially the Zombie Party turn 7, when you might need it. Plus this Lich, 6 damage, can't ask for a much more solid card there. Unfortunately, Dragon's Healing is actually almost more than Haven's, which is totally annoying.
Prepare your soul.
The only other lucky part is that I've got Death Breath, so if that's needed, I could use that as a damage block. Fortunately, though, Zombie Party's going to do plenty here, so there's no real need to use Death Breath yet.
Did you like it?
Unfortunately, Dragon doesn't have anything left. At least not on their board. They literally relied on that Bahamut play, and that was about it.
I'll live again.
And Nep guarantees Underworld Watchman thanks to only playing certain drops.
Are unchanging.
So while our 2 and 3 drop slots aren't always going to be good, our 7 and 8 drops are always guaranteed, as long as they're in the deck. And unfortunately getting the Lich as well is really good, so this deck does quite nicely. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to play this deck, there will be the deck list in the description below. There's nothing much more to say, you know, once you do get to turn 7 and 8 you can pretty much roll your opponent over, and the rest of it pretty much can survive and draw you enough cards to get there, so hopefully you enjoy it. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.